Welcome, folks. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We'll get started at the top of the hour. Thank y'all. Thank y'all for joining. Just gonna put a description in here. How are y'all feeling? Hope this is good. All right. Hope y'all are feeling great tonight. Thank you for joining. Gonna have a conversation with Holden Jones. I am Marvin of Melanated Social Work. I hope you all are doing well. This is gonna be an interesting conversation. It's going to be an interesting conversation. I've never had a conversation this vulnerable, so it should be fantastic. Hello, everybody. Thank you for being here. Finishing the semester strong. Excellent. Good. Yeah, where y'all tuning in from? You know, I like to know where y'all are tuning in from. I know there's somebody from New York here. I already know. Hope there's some representation from the Bay somewhere, just so I can be like Bay Area, stand up. Oakland, Bay Area, stand up. Florida, who I used to live in Miami. Tulsa, Cali, what part of Cali? Lisa Monet. Houston's in the building. Boise, I told you it's always somebody from New York. Thank y'all for being here. Seattle. Corona, California. Okay. Philly. What up, Philly? Just waiting for Holden to join us. Thank you all for joining. Yeah, it's going to be a good conversation. It's going to be a real good conversation. Yeah. Always trust black women, as the shirt says. Riverside, Coral, Phoenix, excellent. Sorry, what was I gonna say? Oh, make sure you check out the merchandise for Melanated Social Work. Make sure you are donating to Melanated Social Work. We do, as this is, for free, and giving y'all just all types of knowledge right now. So make sure you hit that link tree in the bio and donate to Melanated Social Work. Yes, the song is fantastic. I'm doing well. I'm doing very well today. So yeah, excited for this conversation. Had a couple of sessions, had some emails, and all of that. Yes, thank you. The book club. So we're going to be reading Emergent Strategy by Adrienne Marie Brown. The first book club meeting, I believe, is the 7th of January. It's that first Thursday in January. So, yeah, so the book club. Thank you for reminding me. Yeah, it should be dope. It should be a good one. Just waiting for Holden right now. He's on Black people time, which is to be expected. But yeah, we also have the Melanated Social Work podcast. We have a very special guest. Our new episode hopefully is going to be coming out on Monday. Yeah, so I cannot wait. Holden is here.
Yeah, I heard you.
Oh.
I heard you. Yeah, I heard you. Yeah.
Listen, we Black, and just sometimes we
I
need
was
to
here. I was just had technical difficulties, but it's
Okay. All right. That's what Black people always say too. All right. Welcome, Holden. Welcome everybody that is watching. Thank you all for joining us. This is a conversation that I think we've had offline a couple times, and that I've had with a couple of folks. And we just wanted to bring this conversation out because there's not many people, many Black men who identify as queer who are having these open and honest discussions, and kind of giving us the vulnerability and giving us the history and all that kind of stuff. So I'm grateful for you being here with me, being vulnerable and talking about all of this. So thank you for being here. I need to introduce things, huh? So I am Marvin, a licensed clinical social worker, co-founder of Melanated Social Work, therapist at Radical Therapy Center. I do some things. My pronouns are he and they. I'm here in Philadelphia, and always wanting to acknowledge that we are in Philly, in America, on stolen land. And so just wanting to acknowledge the Lenni Lenape tribe, the indigenous tribe who this land was taken from. What about you?
How do I follow that? Number is I don't know. My name is Holden Jones. I am, well, pronouns he, him, and his. What can I say about myself? I don't know. Black guy, Philadelphia. Like, what am I say? No. Yeah, I'm a vocalist. I'm a youth worker. That encompasses, many things. As many people who work with youth find themselves doing many things. Working towards becoming a psychotherapist. So I work with youth in many capacities, in a teaching capacity, supportive behavioral health capacities, all sorts of different things. I don't know what else is. I don't know.
I think that's good. I didn't know that you were going to be wanting to be a psychotherapist, so news to me. Do better with updates. Yeah, so
that's the it's I'm not there yet, so I don't want to claim it. It's like, bro, you don't have your degree, so don't.
Nah, you got to speak that into existence, though. That's how we're doing it now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. If you believe it, you can achieve it. All that.
Thanks.
So I also, we talked about this, but wanted to, one, tell folks how we identify, mm-hmm. and then two, kind of define some things, just so we're all on the same page. Yep. So, you wanna, or I can?
Please.
So I identify as a cisgender, bisexual male. And you.
Okay. I am cisgendered male. Queer. I'm a little fluid. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, I think it's important too to just, remind folks that, so the word queer is the umbrella term, right? So the word queer encompasses everything. I'm pretty sure everything that's outside of heterosexuality, right? So that could be lesbian, that could be homosexual, that could be bisexual, that could be pansexual, that could be all the other things that are outside of the traditional lens of heterosexuality. Mm-hmm. If you all folks out there have different definitions, that's fine. But this is the definition that I think we're on the same page about, and that we're going to be working from. Also, these are our experiences as two men. We do not represent the entire queer Black male community. So just always remember that this is always going to be from our personal experienses. So please do not take this as Bible.
Don't DM me saying I said I don't represent you. Please don't do that. I'm just talking about me. That's it.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk. How you want to start it off?
I think first, for me, the biggest elephant in the room is, with something I mentioned with you is the situation with the gospel singer Daryl Walls, right? And why for me it's a topic that I wanted to kind of start out with is because it's in the headlines if you're in that space or adjacent to that space of either music or religion in the capacity of church like Christianity. But it's part of my lived experience. I was a Christian at one time, identified as a Christian at one time, a practicing Christian.
And I'm sorry to cut you off, but can you briefly explain what that situation was? Just in case folks don't know.
Okay. Yes. So what happened was, I'm not sure if it was Daryl Walls. He's a singer, gospel singer in the Walls group. a famous young 4-person outfit. They're brothers and sisters, and I don't know if it was his live or the guy in the video's live, but someone was live, and their story was for their close friends, and one of the close friends, I guess, screen recorded it or something, but showed it, online somewhere, and the Shade Room picked it up, and then of course everybody saw it. So it was something of them kissing each other, exchanging like little cutesy little words with each other, whatever. So for some people it's like, oh, what? Some people are like, but it shouldn't have happened.
Yeah. I mean, being outed is an unfortunate thing that happens, and it happens more often than we like. But anyway, I do want to hear where you were going to go with that, though, because you were about to go into your experience of being Jewish. You were.
I feel like, no, it was interesting because initially not to retell his story, but context, he took his Instagram down, maybe for an evening that evening, and then maybe a day later, he put it back up, and he came back with this live of him singing and worshiping and doing these things, and while it was very moving, right, it was very heartwarming. I remember that place of doing things, right, throughout the week, Monday through Saturday, right, up until Saturday night. I remember doing things and then spending Sunday morning at the proverbial and literal altar, right, kind of purging or doing away with whatever, things I've done during the week, like, oh, it's not of you, God, and it's, all these different things, like, take this away from me. And I'm not saying that's what he was saying, but it's just, I remember that place of feeling so bad and then going to a place of worship, in a sense of feeling like I'm cleansing myself of some bad mojo or bad juju, whatever, those bad feelings, shame, all those different things.
Yeah. And
thinking that something was wrong with me. Going through the motions every single week of like, okay, Monday through Saturday, but this is what I gravitate towards. And then Sunday is like a reminder, like, no, but don't do that though. And it's like that incongruence.
Yeah. Similarly, there's this feeling, for me anyway, of like, there's something wrong with me. Like, what's wrong with me? And how do I get fixed too? Like that was like another piece of like, how do I fix this shit? Because this is, being queer, being seen as gay, whatever, is seen as like the absolute worst possible thing, especially in the Black community, especially among Black men in from lower socioeconomic backgrounds. I remember, just changing all parts of me, like the way that I walk, the way that I talk, the subject matter that I spoke about, so many things to just try and fit into this box because I didn't want to be othered. Like, I didn't want to be seen as queer at all, because again, that is the worst thing. I think still to this day, like, a lot of straight Black men just don't want to be associated with anything queer having to do with gay, or not even like a little bit, right? And so when you have this identity and you have so many different messages telling you that you're wrong or bad or dirty, and I think church is such a powerful one, because it's God. Like, it's so just like, damn, like, I can disappoint my parents, I can disappoint like friends, I can disappoint teachers, coworkers, whoever, but like, damn, Jesus don't want me. And so it's a really tough situation, but I think a lot of times what happens is that there's this compartmentalizing, which sounds like you were doing a little bit, of folks like will be one way in the streets, but then during church or in front of family or in front of your boys, it's a whole different situation.
Listen, let me tell you, man, it was so bad. It was so bad. I ended up separating. I went to a different church than my mother and brother. I said I need to go somewhere else, because number one, like, when you're brought up under a certain religion, like, that's all you know. So it's like you think that's the way to go or something to do, right? So I was like, let me do this, and I went to a different church so I can, and I'm also at the developmental age of like developing my own identity. I'm a teenager, and I, when you talk about compartmentalizing, I had a completely different life. Um, People at school didn't know, people at church didn't know, my people at home didn't know. Like I had a completely different life, and people really knew what I was doing during high school. I don't think they would look at me the same. I was a completely different person, but I had no choice because coming up in the you and I are 90s kids. Like what I'm saying? So we were born in the 80s and we grew up in the 90s. And at the time, for me, and I'm just going to speak for myself, the image of a queer, gay, bisexual, whatever man, you were either the expression of it was either you were very, you know, flamboyant. I hate using flamboyant because it doesn't really, flamboyant is not the right word to use. But for lack of a better term, flamboyant, or you were trying to live this duplicitous life of having a wife, while simultaneously on the side. And I didn't want that. Also, we grew up, coming out of the main part of the AIDS crisis, right? So also avoid the narrative of like, all right, you're black, you're gay, and you must, what I'm saying? So it was like there's a lot of things in my mind that I just wanted to avoid. They didn't gel with my expression. That didn't gel with who I saw myself as. I didn't know who I was going to become, like me today, but I just knew that I didn't want those identities for myself. I didn't want to be a statistic. I didn't want to be a caricature. I didn't want to, not to say that anyone who is a caricature, but for me, that wasn't who I am, right? So I felt like if I had to fit into that, that would be a caricature, if that makes sense. I don't want to offend anyone. I want to be clear. So I did a lot of compartmentalizing, and I was a totally different person in high school. It took years to get out of that, keeping things to myself and doing things completely removed from a support system, removed from accountability, people. Like, you know what I mean? Just living my own life that no one had. They just knew me as the church boy who sang praise and worship. They had no idea the stuff that I had going on the side. And I'm going to pause to give you some space because I'm about to jump into the deep end. I don't want to do that.
Jump right in. We listen. This is a conversation. We go in there. So like, and I'm right there with you. But something that I just thought about, around not wanting to be seen as like more flamboyant or femme, is how it can, not, I guess, confusing, but like I had so many interests that were congruent with what boys are supposed to like, but then I had others that were close to what girls are supposed to like. And so like my like boy side, like football, I love to work with my hands and build things. I love sports. Like I love to be active. I love to like climb trees and like, do all that stuff. But on the other side, like I actually really enjoyed my sister's best friend, my neighbor, basically family. But she had this like Barbie like house. This shit was a dope ass house. So playing with this Barbie house, like, and I can't tell anybody that I'm doing this because like, this isn't what boys do. But she had a convertible and like kitchen and bedroom. Come on, like,
right.
Barbie's winning, and these are goals for me. Like I want this house. Right. But also, like to sing and also like to do other things that, weren't, I wasn't like supposed to do. And I think that middle school and high school was one of the toughest times because that's when you're really trying to figure yourself out, but also you're figuring out who you are in relation to other people. And your ego is everything. Yeah. And so, your reputation is everything. That's your ego. I'm sorry. And so, one of the things that I didn't do and I still regret to this day is I never played football. And people would ask me all the time, why didn't you play football? Why didn't you play football? So at my high school, we had showers that were very open. And so in my puberty state,
I knew this. I was like,
it would have been a bad situation.
Yeah.
Had something down there happened among all boys. Right? Yeah. And I went to a Catholic school too. And so the religious piece on top of like the, you know, hyper masculine sport, and now you're attracted to another player. Oh no, I wouldn't have been able to play football with that team again. I wouldn't have been safe.
Yeah.
Because even if I had one or two people or even some teachers that were cool with it, there's a whole nother slew of folks, and our school was so small that that shit would have been around in a day or two. And so, you know, literally denying something that I just wanted to, just a regular fucking sport that I wanted to play.
Right.
Because of how unsafe it would have been had I moved forward. It's just like, damn, that's stuff that heterosexual folks don't really have to deal with like that.
Right.
Don't even have to think about that, because it's just like, I'm playing a sport. But for me, playing football was so much more than playing football.
Yeah. That's real. To piggyback on that, my relationship to sports, sports became a mechanism to wedge me further away from my male identity, I should say. Because for a while I was like, I'm not a girl, but I don't feel like a boy because the boys don't want me to be a part of this. Right? I was being very young.
Yeah.
My mom married into another family, and one of the, my relatives in their family used sports as a wedge between my brother and I. Like, so, I had an interest, I wanted to play Madden, that was when it was hot on the Super Nintendo.
Oh, yeah.
Playing NBA jams. I wanted to play those because not that I had an interest in football or basketball, but because here we're all together, it's a community thing. We're playing a video game, I want to play the video game or whatever.
Yeah.
And it was like, that was used to ostracize me. Like, what I'm saying? Because my voice was higher, I was louder, I was more expressive, you know what I mean? My mannerisms and body movements were not shaped to the expression of what boys were associating boys should be like, right? And not that I was trying to be anything. It was just, I was an animated little kid. And, but that soured the sense of community that comes from males, you know what I'm saying, through sports, because a lot of guys bond over sports, right? And I'm of age now to where, if I want to watch, the game, I can watch the game, but I still battle with that connectivity of just getting in there. I don't have a team, like, what I'm saying, because a lot of that is rooted in that. And I just said, what, I'm not going to deal with this. I'll live my life, because it doesn't define me. But it was hard because I just wanted to do what all the other boys were doing. And, it was just one example of, like, it was a kind of one of those things where it's like, nah, you're not really, we're not with that. So you got to go do something else.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. This feeling of, like, being connected with somebody else is so hard, because there's this anxiety that's like, oh shit, what if they find out? What if they think I'm attracted to them? What if this happens? What if that happens? And it's just like, it's so isolating, because you don't want to take that, like, you don't want to take that chance. And so it's just easier to deal with shit internally than to tell anyone, and then potentially just, I think the thought is that your life could be ruined. I think that was definitely the thought that I had, was like, shit, if anybody knew about this, my life would literally be over. I wouldn't be able to do anything. I would be exiled, like, because we see that happening. We hear of that happening. And we're in other countries of people literally being killed because of who they are. And so to know that, to identify with that, it's just like, it's something, it's like the plague. It's like, oh no, not me. Not me. I'm curious about your journey as far as, like, and I hate the term coming out. Right. But I just like to say, when you started telling people who you like, and when that was for you, and what that experience was like, because I think everyone has a different kind of, like, the why behind why you decided to, and then kind of the reaction that you got, the anxiety, the like, just what that was like for you.
Okay, it was. I kind of fell backwards into it because I was so steeped in religion. So it started off as, like, this really messy thing of here's this thing I'm struggling with.
Yeah.
Right. Because that's, the language used. Like if you're in religion and, there's something that's other, it's a struggle. So, here's this thing I'm struggling with. So it kind of started off as like that. And I don't, this was to leaders. Like I wasn't the type of, I'm still not that way where I tell everybody my business. Not because out of shame or fear. I'm a unicorn. I do what I want to do when I want to do it, how I want to do it. And like, if I want to tell you, I'm going to tell you. If I don't, no hard feelings, it's just not your business.
Yeah.
So I told leaders, and then I started learning how to trust people who were not leaders. So college was very interesting. Got some bruises from that. But it was this really messy experience of finding a core, finding a tribe, and confiding with the tribe. And then people are going to have thoughts, not being so weighed down to feel like I have to affirm what they believe, but I'm also not hiding either. You know what I mean? So it was this weird, messy thing that I had to navigate. And where I'm at now is just kind of like, if I want you to know, I'm gonna tell you. If not, it doesn't have to be a spoken thing. If you get a sense, okay, you get a sense. I'm not going to confirm it or deny it, but there's other parts of me too. So you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
How are you like received by friends and family?
Well, Mom thinks that this is something that I think she thinks is a phase.
Like today?
I feel like she thinks it's a phase or something that she can pray really hard, and one day I'm just going to see the light. She doesn't treat me bad. Like we have a great relationship, but like when it comes to that, I stay away from it because I know it's probably harder for her to have that conversation than it is for me, right? I'm not a parent, so I don't know what it's like to have aspirations and dreams for your kids. I know she wants grandkids, so I don't know what it's like to, have kids and you have dreams and visions for them. And, your kid can completely subvert that by being their own person. You know what I'm saying? So like there's I'm sure levels to how she's navigating this, but kids in a family like man woman type of way, not like because I can have kids, but yeah. So friends, they know. Yeah, I mean Mom knows too, but friends they know, and it's just kind of like they want you to share that with them, you know. And for a long time, I kind of kept my friends away from what I was doing because a lot of the stuff I was doing was, but
right there with you.
Yeah, it was a lot of things I'm taking to my grave. But it's they want to be there for you, and I learned to give people the chance to be there for me.
What was that time frame from like when you told folks? Like, was that like recent or was that a while back?
No, I told my mom. I finally like verbalized it to her at I think 16 or 17. I remember that Sunday very clearly. So we've had series of conversations from when I was 17 at Truth Memorial Baptist Church in West Philly. Whew.
Oh, you getting love.
I only said that because I see Jaira, so she knows what I'm talking about. But yeah, friends around the same time, like late high school years. Yeah.
Got you. Okay.
You? What about you?
Shit. I mean, mine was much more recent. Much more, past maybe 2 or 3 years. So this was something that I was holding on to for dear life. Only I can maybe count on one hand the people who knew. And I think the thing for me was that, I was in this therapeutic journey, and I had just ended a relationship with a woman, and I was just like, why was I withholding who I was so much? And she knew that I was bisexual, and she was fine with it. But you know, there was still this part of my identity that I felt like it wasn't being expressed because, and like, I think that's bisexuality is a privilege. Um, because if I decided to be with a woman and marry a woman, I wouldn't even have to deal with any of the like queer harassment or anything like that.
Mm.
Right. So, anyway, side note. So, yeah, so I really, you know, started this therapeutic journey. We started melanated social work, and I was just like, damn, like how can I keep encouraging people to be their authentic selves when I'm not being my authentic self?
Mm.
And then was really just started questioning like and learning more about white supremacy. We'll get into that too and how white supremacy ties into this. But learning about all of those things, and I'm just like, you know what, like I just have to do it. So, and I had two friends that had known since undergrad, second year of undergrad, two. And then I told my sister and then my mom. And like women typically, that's why I have this shirt on, trust Black women, because they are literally the reason that I am still sitting here with y'all today.
Period. Period.
And so, yeah, so my dad was the big one. Like I was just like, I don't know, like this might be, and you know, I strategically told him right before Christmas because if he didn't, you know, if things went south, I was like, cool. When I come back home, I'll stay with somebody else then. And so, super anxious. You know, dad's super old school. Was born in 1947. He old. Very traditional. So it was just like, all right, like, I mean, it's gonna happen. It's, like, it has to happen. I'm not just gonna keep it inside. Like, I'm tired of changing and tired of withholding parts of myself. And so I told him, and he said it doesn't matter who you love. You know, it only matters that you're a good person.
Wow.
And I was just like, okay.
What was that like for you? What did that feel like?
I cried. Yeah, I cried because that was my example of what a man was. That was my example of like who I need to be like. Right. I need to one day have a wife. I need to one day be a strong, like physically and mentally, and just like determined, like that hardworking, that mentality. I need to have all of what he has. And he's older. He has said some homophobic shit, to be honest. So, so when I told him, and that was the response, it was like obviously an outpour of emotion. And then we just had a conversation like we normally would. And I think that was the best part of it. Was that like we didn't have this 2-hour long discussion about it. He was just like, it only matters who, you know, that you're a good person. And then we went right about our business like it was a regular conversation. And that in itself, I don't know, was really powerful for me because it's like it's not a big deal. It's not a big of deal as I don't know.
I know what you're trying to say.
Yeah, it's not as big of a deal. There it is. As we think it is.
Right.
Sometimes I'll say sometimes because that was a lovely, you know, outcome, but it's not true for everybody. Right. So, but yeah, it was super emotional. It was, and I was just like, can't nobody else tell me shit. Like my dad said, I'm good.
Like, yeah.
So it just be, and also the weight that's like lifted. You're just like, oh, like I can like breathe fully. I can stretch. Like I like my shoulders are a little lighter. Like it's such a freeing experience. Wow. And even being on this live with you now, it's just like, had you told me that 3-4 years ago, I was like, get the fuck out of here. Ain't nobody doing that.
Legit.
And so, yeah, it was just a super powerful experience. Wow. I kind of want to go into the white supremacy piece.
Okay.
If that's all right with you.
Go ahead, brother. Go ahead.
Yeah. So, we talk about how gender and gender norms are so strict, right? Girls and women are supposed to act like this. Boys and men are supposed to act like this. That all, everybody, is rooted in white supremacy. When we look at indigenous cultures, when we look at African cultures and African nations, they have third, fourth genders, going all the way up to six genders sometimes. In Native American cultures, they had what they called the Berdash, I believe is the pronunciation, or folks that are two-spirit. And those folks were actually held more highly above cisgender heterosexual folks because they had both energies inside of them. And so it wasn't until colonization, it wasn't until white folks came over with Christianity and told us, hey, y'all not doing that shit. This isn't how Jesus wants it. Either you do it our way or you die. Yep. Right? So a lot of what this homophobia that we see, this transphobia that we see, is rooted in whiteness, is rooted in white supremacy. Mm-hmm. Like our ancestors were good. This wasn't an issue for them. So I just always want to bring that into the conversation because, the black church is the black church. Yeah. But let's be honest, like there's white Jesus in a lot of y'all black churches. Ew. And a lot of that hatred that some churches express, again, rooted in whiteness, rooted in white supremacy. Speak, man. Yeah. Where do we want to go? How about we go? I'm sorry. If folks have questions, put them in the chat. Forgot that y'all are in here. If y'all have questions, put them in the chat. We will be happy to answer them. I wanted to talk a little bit about DL culture. Mm-hmm. Because that is the ultimate compartmentalization. Is you have a whole nother life. And it is so separate from what like your normal life is. But it's almost like you're able to justify it somehow, or maybe forget about it. I don't know how these people justify it anymore, but they're able to justify it. But and for folks that maybe haven't heard of, I'm sure most folks have. But so down low culture are basically straight presenting men who have sex with men and do sexual things with men and spend time with men romantically. But they maybe have a girlfriend or a wife or just identified everywhere else as a cisgender heterosexual person. And so, the down low community is here today, like right now. They are fully, men who have full girlfriends, full wives, been in marriages for a long time, that are on the down low having sex with other men and will not tell their partners for fear of, fill in the blank. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Sorry, we had a question before I get into all of it. What does your spirituality look like now? I can speak for me. I believe, so I am still on that journey of figuring out what that looks like. But I know that I pray to a creator, and I also pray to our ancestors, and I also pray to God. So I just want to make sure all of my, I want to make sure it's all covered. But that's what it's much more personal. I don't attend a church. I'm not looking to attend a church. But yeah, that is me.
Yes. What I'll say is, what I do appreciate, that there's a lot of good things that did come from me going to church. I don't want to shit talk it. I was like, oh God, it was this really impressive experience. Da-da-da. No, it afforded me some great things. And my spirituality, I would say, came from that, because I saw God do things. I saw him do things. Not in the like he healed somebody who was on the. I'm talking about like personal experiences where like we ain't got nothing but peanut butter in the cabinet. We're very private people. We don't tell nobody nothing. And a random Saturday, you know, a friend of the family or a friend or whatever drops off bags of groceries. Say, God place you guys on my heart. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that, for me, that those kinds of experiences is where I saw God. Not so much in the church service, not so much in, you know, prayer and Bible study, you know, all these different things we go through. I didn't see him there. You know, I wanted to so badly, but I didn't. So to answer the question today, my spirituality, I acknowledge God. I acknowledge the Creator. Nothing will ever take that away. But I do not practice Christianity, and as it exists. So I'm looking at different paths right now. I'm on a path of Buddhism, although parts of that I'm just like, I don't like the idea of people, a person. You know what I'm saying? I don't like the idea of idolizing a person or anything. But you know, it's giving me peace right now. So.
And that's the most important thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do you feel like the Black church is conditioning Black gay men to live in shame and hate themselves?
So that's a big question. I think, excuse me, I think it's bigger than that. I think straight culture does that, you know, and religion is like a byproduct or a mechanism for that. But yeah, I think it's a tool. Religion is a tool that is used for sure. But I think there are still quite a number of heterosexual people who, you know, subscribe to this idea of things are very binary. You know, it's either this or it's that. And that's something, you know, you and I have learned this, you know, from when you're a kid. You know what I'm saying? We're kind of bred to see things in two dimensions, right? Yeah. Pink or it's blue, you know, it's up or it's down, it's left or it's right, it's hot or it's cold. You know, we look at life in binaries. And, you know, LGBTQIA folks, you know, we kind of exist in, through, in the middle, outside of all of that. So, yeah.
Yeah. You know, and I don't want to say all churches, because there are some churches out there that are accepting of folks from all walks of life. So I don't want to say all churches or the Black church as if it's all one type of church. But I definitely think that individuals are using the Bible and religion to shame folks out of living their truth. I don't necessarily know that they're directly saying you should hate yourself, but they're definitely indirectly telling folks that, like, hey, you're wrong and you're gonna go to hell. Actually, no, they're directly telling people things, telling people that they're wrong and gonna go to hell sometimes. I guess the answer to that question is sometimes yes. Sometimes yes, and it's unfortunate. Do you believe your sexual preference hinders or flourishes you in the professional world? So we both had experiences working in schools. So social work, and I'll speak for myself. Social work is a little bit different. Depending on the environment that your workplace is, it could hinder you or it could propel you. And so, or make you a little bit more versatile as far as what you can offer to clients. And and I'll give you two examples. So I worked at a school, a K-8 elementary school in North Philly. It was, for lack of better terms, it was hood. So in that environment, I feel like it would not have been safe for me to disclose my identity, because there are a lot of ignorant folks, and things in schools in general, in that particular school, go around so quickly that it would have been to students, it would have been to staff, and it would have been to parents. And so I wouldn't have been able to be good at my job if some child was, you know, talking to a climate staff or a teacher, looking at me and saying, oh, you know about Toliver. No, don't mess with Toliver because he swing the other way or something like that. I even had people, talking about queer folks say, oh, don't you think he's a little, you know what I mean? And so like, I have to hear this as I identify as this as well. And so like, so I already knew it was not going to be safe for me. Right. So in that respect, no, but now I'm at the Radical Therapy Center in West Philly and with Sonali, the fat sex therapist. Shout out to Sonali and Ibla. So that I am very open. I'm like, yes, we are here because we want queer folks to feel safe. We want people from marginalized identities to feel safe and to get specialized care from folks that actually get it. So I think in that respect, it makes me a better therapist because I can connect on different levels with my clients.
Word.
Yeah.
Yes. I was at a all boys school, so that was fun. All boys school. Yeah.
What was the age?
So these were middle school, 6 to 8, 8th grade students. It kind of limits down the amount of schools that are all boys schools in Philadelphia. But yeah. So it was interesting. I didn't disclose it to any students. There are queer staff members who we just kind of gravitated towards each other, right? Yeah. And it just kind of happens. We would kind of talk amongst each other, but same thing. I didn't think it would be safe because there's this weird, and this is old, right? There's this weird connection that shouldn't be a connection, that people place pedophilia with queerness or homosexuality. Yeah. And they start looking at your motives of why are you in a school, specifically if it's a school that caters to one gender or one sex, right? Why are you there? What are your intentions? Like, and then they want to scrutinize like what's going on. And that may not be everybody, but it's an easy place for people to go, right? They hear something, then there's like a filter that comes through. Everything you do comes through that filter of like what examining your motives. What was that about? Is there something in that? If you do something nice for somebody, are you expecting something in return? So it's a weird way that, number one is us as men, if we enter a space where there are children, that we have to be cognizant of in the first place, right? I think more so, I want to be careful, more so than women, or women, that people identify as women, right? Of just when we enter these spaces where children are, because there have been a lot of people who have perpetrated atrocities against children who have identified or presented as males, right? Yeah. So the first thing. And then the second thing is, when you add queerness on top of it, that's a whole other dimension that I'm just like, this ain't the population to just be sharing this with. It really don't got nothing to do with nothing. I'm doing my job. So, you know what I mean? So it's like, there are some kids who I've been able to help out because of that, because they've kind of identified it in themselves, and I've been able to help them navigate these spaces, but nah.
Yeah. Somebody said I am a Black Christian man who is completing my MSW, and I am here to better know and love. Y'all stay up. Blessings, peace, love. Appreciate you. Thank you for being here. I'm actually glad that comment popped up because there needs to be a shift. Like there needs to be some kind of shift, and especially in the Black community, around how we view queer men of color. And I'm going to speak specifically about queer men of color because for the most, I'm going to make a general statement and like, don't beat me up, please, followers. But women who identify as outside of heterosexuality are almost are sexualized and seen as it's seen like it turns straight men on, and so they have a different struggle, I think, than queer men of color do. I think I said that appropriately. But there needs to be a shift, and I mean we need cisgender heterosexual men to be like, hey, cut the shit. Like it doesn't matter who he wants to love, whether he wants to love another dude, if he wants to love a trans woman, which is a whole another topic that we can talk about another time. But like we need straight men because, and some people were offended when I posted this, that Black men are the white men of the Black community.
X.
At the very top of the privilege, and if we're talking about Blackness, cisgender, heterosexual Black men are at the top.
Yep.
Right? So most privilege. And so we need folks with that privilege to tell other folks with that privilege to be like, chill out. It is okay however this man identifies. To stop shaming boys. To stop shaming boys who want to dance or do whatever the fuck they cook or whatever.
Or want to watch football. People do that. Like, if it's a boy says, nah, that's not really my thing. It's like, what's wrong with you? What boy doesn't like football? Some boys don't like football.
And that's just it.
Not like it. It's okay.
That's it.
It's okay.
But we need straight Black men to do better. Don't come and tell me to be who I want to be, and then dropping F-bombs, the faggot bomb, dropping F-bombs or telling your son don't act like no bitch. We don't need that.
No.
Because you're upholding this oppressive, problematic viewpoint that's rooted in white supremacy, but will go around and be mad when the police kill an unarmed Black or brown person. So let's call it what it is. We need straight Black men to step up, because we can talk all we want, but until straight Black men talk to each other, the same shit's gonna happen.
Facts.
This is why this is rare, right? For folks to see us and to openly talk about this, because men are afraid. They're afraid.
They are. And also, to circle back to, you led into this with DL culture right before the questions.
Oh yeah, my bad.
And also, no. This is perfect, because also for cisgendered, Black men or men, right? To be okay with things that are not rooted in your fetishization of them or your attraction to them. So like with women, right? A lot of straight guys are okay with lesbians or, same gender loving women, because there's a root of that. There's an object of attraction there, right? So with DL men, it can't be okay for you to do, because, you know what I'm saying? Or if you find somebody else who's DL, like, y'all are cool, like, okay, I get it. It can't just be cool for that, just because that's rooted in like a sense of like, I'm attracted to this type of guy. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm attracted to other DL guys. So it's cool if it's like this, but if it's not like that, it's not cool. What's the difference? What's the difference? You both sleeping with men? Like, what's the difference? Expression? The gender expression? Or how you identify, like if you out or not? Like, what's that about? You know what I mean? But that's, a lot of that is some of that, not all, is rooted in your attraction to that thing. And because of that, makes that thing okay. Like, so if I like it, then it's cool then. But if I don't like it, it's not cool for anybody. Not just even for me. For anybody, it's not cool.
Yeah. There's internalized homophobia within queer people, which is wild to think about, but that is real.
I saw some things. Somebody asked something. Before this last question, somebody asked something.
Okay, go ahead.
Sorry, I lied. I swore I saw something.
I have it right now. Did you disclose your identity to the kids you helped?
There it is.
I did not.
I didn't. I let them know I was an ally, and I understood for those who it applied to, but for the rest, it wasn't their business. Just like how much money I make, it's not their business. Yeah.
I also didn't encounter any students who identified as queer, any students who were boys. So I don't know if that changes my answer. I don't know, but I feel like that's important to
One for me, or based on my said, do you believe the actions of the infamous priests in the Catholic Churches taking advantage of young boys have led to the stereotype of gay men being pedophiles?
Ooh. Didn't help. Doesn't help.
It doesn't, and it's weird because you and I both are from the West Coast, right? We're both from the Bay Area. You're from Oakland. I'm from San Francisco, and it was weird coming up in the '90s and hearing middle-aged white men talk about these really ethereal fantasies of 17-year-old, young boy, like, what I'm saying, like that was the fantasy, right? Like if you can have like a pool boy, or it was. I think there is some level of like there's something there.
Yeah.
That may have nothing to do with the Catholic Church, right? I think that's the Catholic Church adds to this, but there is something and I never understood where that came from, right? I don't like that we're linked to pedophilia, but it's just I always thought that there was a weirdness about that, where I'm taking this in a very strange direction. But because I remember that distinctly from the 90s, right? And I think it exists separate from the Catholic Church. I don't know where all of that comes from, linking the two things together, but I do remember seeing it in places where people have linked it together outside of just the Catholic Church.
Mm-hmm. My assumption is, and I don't have any facts to back this up, but it sounds right in my brain, so I'm going to say it. Is that when you think about kind of back in the, I don't know, medieval time or whenever, back very long ago, queerness was a thing, right? And so when it comes to heterosexuality, we often think about these older men with younger women. And then when we think about kids, we think about them or we used to think about them a lot of the time as property. And also there's this kind of feeling or this thought of like, for a lot of men, straight men back in the day, I'm assuming again, that it's almost like forbidden fruit. Like, oh, you're at that time probably like 15, 16, maybe even younger. And so I think there's more of like power at play there. And so this power of I'm a man and you're this young, innocent little girl. And I think that kind of translated into the queer community as well, of like, I'm this man and you're this innocent like boy now. So I think it sounds like it's more about power than actually anything sexual or about anybody's identity or anything like that. That's a good question though. Do Black fathers not reinforce alternative lifestyles in their children as a means of protecting them? I think you're giving Black fathers too much credit there. I think a lot of it's possible. It is possible. Doubtful though, in my opinion. Doubtful.
If I'm being honest, I think they do. I think some do. And the intention it's a good intention, right? You do, because as a parent, I'm not a parent, but I would imagine as a parent, you want to do everything you can to protect your children, right? So I do, because I have heard some fathers, of kids I work with, say like they've gotten their kids into sports or whatever because they presented a certain kind of way and they didn't want them to get bullied. Like I have heard that before. I think there's a better way to shepherd them, but I think some of these fathers are doing those are the only tool they have, the tool they feel like they have in their toolbox, right? And so that's why I say the intention sometimes I feel like is good, but I don't think they know what else to do because maybe they feel like if you encourage it, you're just pushing them into the fire to be, targets or whatever.
See, but then that's the homophobia too, right? Because it's not about the child then, it's about you. Or I'm sorry, it's about the father and how the father is uncomfortable with the child's identity, right? So a father would learn about, okay, what does this mean? What do I do? What's the best plan of action that's the safest for my son? Instead, it's selfishly like, oh no, my son ain't gonna be, associated with that shit. Here's football, here's boxing, I'm gonna punch you in the face when you do something wrong, right? And that's doing more harm. And so, if that is a way that they are choosing to say that they are protecting their child, they need to do some reflection on themselves and why they're so uncomfortable, because that's doing nothing but harming their child.
And they need to be a part of these conversations too, right? With each other as fathers. as communities, right, these conversations need to happen more,
Yeah.
because like there's only so much respectability politics we can play, right, or that we can teach children, for them to become healthy adults. Like at some point you have to just be like, look, this is who you are, this is the terrain, this is what it is, let me teach you how to navigate this thing, you know what I'm saying? And I may not know all the tips and tricks, but you know, we're gonna figure it out. I think there has to be a level of that, you know what I'm saying, or willingness to that. And I think these conversations have to be more inclusive. Nothing against us, I'm saying they have to come to these conversations too. Some of them have been presented with these conversations, they don't want to be a part of them.
Yep.
But these are the conversations you need to have. I'm not ever going to tell someone how they should parent their children, but if you have a black kid, right, you can't just say, okay, well, there are going to be people who hate you because you're black, so pretend to be like, that doesn't work for that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, or don't do black things. What does that mean? Like, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, how can you really do that? Like, if your kid, especially, is expressing it or has communicated that, you know what, I think I might be queer, or I'm curious or whatever, that's not something you can just sweep under the rug. You know, not if you're a healthy adult. Like, if your job is to, let me speak with some discretion, because I don't want to step on toes. I would imagine you want because you want what's best for your child. You want to raise a healthy adult, a well-adjusted adult. And in my view, I feel like being honest about where the kid is saying they're at and where you're at, what you feel like you can do, you can't do, and just learning together with them sometimes might be a good plan of action. You know, we don't get to choose where we're born at all the time, or the circumstances we're born into. We don't get to choose all those things, but we all got to navigate the best we can.
Yep.
Right? So,
yeah, that's that. It's been like an hour, but Instagram not kicking us off, so I'm down to go for a little longer.
Yeah, we got to talk
about. So I did want to touch on something that we've spoken like about, is about Black queer male leaders, and we don't really have them. You know, and when thinking about who we look to that has a functional relationship, like that are popular and out there and queer and Black men, and open and honest and proud. They're not out there. I mean, they probably are out there now, probably more so because of social media. But I mean, right now, today, I can't think of anyone. Why we ain't got no leaders? Why we don't have nobody to look to be like, hey, I am like you, and this is how you navigate this. This is how you act in a relationship. This is what marriage looks like or doesn't look like. Why we ain't got that?
And I have to plead ignorance on this as well. I do know there's a lot of people in the Philadelphia area, people I've run into who I know who are doing great work, who do great work in many different, faculties. You know what I mean? But I do have to plead ignorance on this, and I would just imagine that we're still learning ourselves, right? And people are still learning how to identify and what that looks like for them, and what they want someone to lead them looks like. Because I do know they exist. I'm ignorant. I plead that first. I'll get that out the way. I'm ignorant first. But just from groups I've been in, conversations I've had with people, who are queer, I think we're just in a space for a lot of people just figuring out who we want to identify as a leader. Some people have bad things to say about people who've risen to not fame but popularity in certain respects, even in the Philadelphia area, right? People say they stole someone else's idea, or they ride in the coattail. It's a lot of different other stuff going on, but I don't really know.
Yeah. No, I mean that's fair. I mean, my guess is just that whenever you are vulnerable in that way and you consider yourself a leader in that way, you open yourself up to a lot of criticism, a lot of pushback, a lot of things. Even, you know, on the Melanated Social Work account, I created a post around bisexuality, and there were a lot of homophobic folks, or biphobes, homophobes, you know, that were like commenting and were saying, I screenshotted a couple of them, but like saying really horrific things about who I am as a bisexual Black man. And, you know, and I'm part of Melanated Social Work. We have a little following, but like nothing to like, we're not on Beyonce status or like Diddy or something like that. So, you know, I'm not sure if that's going to happen. And to have somebody who is queer and more masculine presenting and open, and, you know, I don't know if that's going to happen anytime soon, because that's going to take, again, that culture shift where we all are embracing queer Black men. I think that, what's that show where they do the makeovers with the queer guys? What's it called?
Queer Eye.
Right. Queer Eye. I think that is maybe one of the closest we're coming to really embracing Black queerness, and that's only Karamo, right? That's only Karamo. So I would, you know, really, I mean, somebody typed in, they are there. Let me know. Give me some Black leaders, some Black queer male leaders that I can look up, because I definitely want to follow them and see what they're doing and learn from them. Maybe it's us. Maybe we are. Don't make that face.
Yes,
maybe that's us. Maybe we are supposed to be the folks that speak out and like make shit more less taboo, you know, to talk about topics like this. So yeah. How do you deal with the backlash of community out? Maybe you mean coming out. I want to be more open, but don't think I can deal with all of that. Oh yeah, you did put coming. My bad. So I didn't directly receive any backlash. I think I more so saw a couple of people just distance themselves from me. Or you'll see comments that are homophobic, or they're like kind of microaggressions. But no one directly said, you are wrong, you are going to hell, you are bad. Not in my circle. I just don't have people in my circle like that. So I cannot speak on that. What I can say is that you should definitely find some community. You should definitely find folks who you really vibe with, who you can be your authentic self with, because I wish that was something that I had. People, you know, ask me a lot of the times, why did you become a social worker? That is a huge part of the answer. It's because I wish that I had somebody that looked like me, that was even there to hold space for me while I was going through this identity crisis from birth to 30, whatever. I wish that I had somebody that just told me, hey, you're okay the way that you are. This is normal. This is okay. Would have made a lot of difference for me. So find community. Find folks who are going to support you regardless. Yeah, that's my answer for that.
I mean, that sounds great to me. Piggybacking on that community, I do consider even the more passive things or residual things to be backlash, like, so people peeling away. I consider that backlash for me. But I have experienced people spreading my business, all sorts of information about like all sorts of stuff that people don't need to be knowing. They've spread all sorts of business. They, you know, peeled away from me. They've just a lot. You know what I mean? And what you said, Marvin, has helped. One of the things that's helped me is community. Having a tribe, right? Even if it's 2 or 3 other people, having a tribe of people who, because it helps validate, like, I'm a person I deserve love. Like I deserve, I'm worthy of these things, right?
Yeah.
Here's some people who know that I'm deserving and worthy of love. They rocking with me. That's the part. Another thing is, just like, for us being people of color, a strong sense of self, and that's something that, oh God, this is so churchy. When they talk about, working out your soul salvation, right? The application here, I'm saying, just that the sense of self, right? That's something you have to work out on your own. Who am I, right? And putting your feet, feeling the ground underneath your feet, standing flat foot and knowing who you are. And it doesn't mean things won't rock you to or fro, but just like I know I'm rooted. Even if it's like a little bit, I got that little bit of root, and I'm good. Whoever comes, whoever goes, I'm good.
Yeah.
I know that my destiny is in my hands, right? And I can be the author of my story. So I can take this as far as I want to go with it. You can be a part of it or not. I'm going to miss you, but that's your choice.
Yeah. And for me now, it's not even I'm going to miss you. It's just like, damn, I'm sad for you that you are not going to be able to experience my dopeness. Like I'm legitimately sad for you because I'm awesome and you were choosing to detach for a dumbass reason. So
yeah,
sorry, I'm
and
sad for you.
That's real. That is real. I wanted to be like that.
Oh, it's great.
I really want to be like that, and because the way that I am is the relationships I built with people, even if they were like an associate, right? Loss is just hard. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The grief of, even if it's a connection as loose as that, just losing that connection, that's one less person who is on my side. Like, you know what I'm saying? Somebody who, like, we were okay. Like, when I saw you, hey, what's going on? How you been? Da, 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 da. And now it's like, you looking at me crazy. I don't have that anymore. Like, there's a sense of loss in that. And
Sure, yeah.
And that's why I said I want that, because I still do, well, not still do, but I grieved those losses. Watching the people in the church silently walk away from me, silently follow me, silently unfriend me. There's a lot of grief with that. I'm not crying tears about it at night, but I still feel it. As a human being, I still feel it.
Yeah. Wow. Ooh. Okay. This conversation is all right. What's a part of your experience as a queer man of color that you're tired of explaining and wish were more widely known? You got something? I have several things that popped up into my brain.
I think people think, one part of it, I feel like when sometimes you tell people that, they just think that it's like a party all the time, or an orgy, or like, they just think, oh, you must get all the guys, or it's just like
all sex all the time.
Yeah, like it. I mean, there was once upon a time, but that's not the point. But it's just like that's not the point.
You don't know my life.
You know what I mean? But it's like, no, they really think like it's just, if you were a dog, with women, you would, because you're a guy, you should be a dog with, guys. And it's like, it's not like that. It's not a party all the time. It's not fun. It's not all games. It's not like I can pick and choose who I want, and it's not like that.
Yeah.
It's not.
As a bisexual man, I have all the people telling me that I'm confused. There are people of all walks of life who are less like, no, that's not real. There are people who like to say that bisexuals are greedy, just want everything, that I'm gay, but just too afraid to come out.
That part.
There is that just a lot around confusion too. So that's always fun. Bisexuality is real. One of my very first therapists, and this was actually the first time that I had actually spoken out loud that I was attracted to men in a therapy session, and I had so much anxiety. Like I literally, like it felt like, you know how that rumbling before a volcano erupts? That was going on in my body. Like I could literally feel my heart pounding, my palms were sweaty. I was so damn nervous. and then said it. I was like, yeah, I'm bisexual. And then nothing happened.
Mm.
I was just like, oh, guess we're all still here. But from that time forward, like it was a great experience. But then the woman kept saying, well, when did you realize that you were gay?
Mm.
Well, how did you first know that you were gay?
Right.
And it's just like, not saying that like there's anything wrong with her thinking that I'm gay, I'm whatever, but it's just not accurate. It's a different experience.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was just annoying to me. So if someone identifies a certain way, just believe that they know what the fuck they are. And if maybe sometimes they don't know who they are, that's okay too. Respect that shit.
Yeah.
Another thing. Oh, go ahead.
No, something else. People think that anyone who's queer has been molested. You're queer as a result of being molested. They want to say, who molested you? Who touched you? And it's like, that's not everybody's experience. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you can't just assume that because somebody's queer, they were molested. That's not
right.
Real.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Also that straight men, if that all the gay men want you, that like because I mess with dudes, like I am automatically looking at you as a sexual object, and also I'm gonna wait until I am cornering you and try to force myself on you.
This shit is dead. Nope.
No.
No.
I don't know
don't want you.
What kind of ego that these men have that they just think that all the queer men want them.
No, I don't want you.
That's not how it works.
I want you, sir.
And even if we are attracted to you, we're not scheming of how to fucking
no.
corner you.
Now, some do.
Some do. Oh, yeah.
And those will be the ones you can see it coming from a mile away. But
yeah.
For the most of us, the everyday Joes, no. Like, that's dead. Like, who's doing it? Who intentionally drives down a dead-end street? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's a one-way street. You gonna go against the traffic? That don't make sense.
Not smart.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, not smart. But I think there's that belief, of like, oh, you like them. I hope you're not looking at me like that. I'm not down with that gay shit. It's like,
yeah. Cool.
All right.
Cool. Thanks for telling me. Cool.
Yeah. All right, cool. Oh man, what was I gonna say? Oh, so I will never forget. So I used to watch Grey's Anatomy. And this was and Grey's Anatomy is still on, by the way, which is baffling to me. It's probably still good too. But Shonda be just doing magic. But there was one where Callie, I think was her character's name, had a girlfriend. I think they eventually got married too. I don't remember. It was a while ago. But she distinctly told, I want to say her mom or dad or parent or somebody, you can't pray away the gay. And I was just like, ooh. Because the number of times that I have tried to pray away the gay, listen, I had 20, 30-minute sessions. Like, look, we gonna do some bargaining, okay? So I'm not gonna curse. I'm not gonna watch any more porn. Look, I'm not gonna do anything else. Just change me, please. Like I'm ready. This shit don't work.
You see, I took the glasses off.
Yeah.
Y'all, oh my gosh, like this is where I stopped myself from going earlier, right? Connected to the religion piece. Oh, I would not be alive if I was still a Christian. I wouldn't be alive. It's just that level of cognitive dissonance. Like, you know what I'm saying? Where on one hand, this is who you are, but on one other hand, this side, who you agree, that's your religion, is also saying like this side of you shouldn't be there. But God can make mistakes, but it shouldn't be there. Like in emotions of like I've done the prayers, these purge things where people like think it's a spirit and they pray off you. They want you to throw up. I've done these therapy sessions where you got to journal about stuff and they give you prompts. Like I've done all these different things, and at the end of the day, I am still queer. Like, you know what I'm saying? And it's just like, it's maddening when you go to an altar every Sunday and this God who parted seas and caused plagues to happen and did all these different things that you read about, that you boast about as if you were there. You pray to him and expect him to remove this thing from you that feels very much you, but not you at the same time. And you watch it week after week not happen. But you watch people say, oh, I was cured of cancer. Oh, somebody blessed me with $10,000. Like all these different things. It's like, well, what am I doing? Like, I'm the bottom of the barrel. Like, you know, like when you're really in it, and you like when you're in really wanting, because some people say like you really gotta want it. No, everyone who has ever prayed for deliverance, they've wanted it. They have wanted it so bad, like they want air. To know that you can't get it is maddening. It drove me to the point of suicide many times, which is why I'm no longer Christian. I tell people that if I was Christian, I would not be alive to this day. I'm telling you, no lie.
Yeah. It's such, I saw somebody comment, it begins to play on your mental. Yes. When you are just getting messages everywhere from music to TV to parents to friends to God to, you know, everything else telling you that you are wrong, you're bad, you're not good enough, you need to change. You are not, the way that you are right now is not acceptable. You need to change either all parts of it or different parts of it or majority of parts of it. But you just got to change it. And never feeling like you're good enough.
Yep.
That's an experience that, you know, really affects self-confidence and self-esteem. It affects future relationships.
Yes.
It affects our view of like ourselves and how we navigate the world.
Yes.
You know, and it's why you hear about so many queer folks committing suicide and completing suicide and cutting and running away and going into homelessness because they were kicked out of the home and having to do sex work.
It's real.
All because there's a society that says that we're wrong and that we can't just fucking exist.
Yeah. Yep. We're an anomaly. We're a glitch in the matrix. Okay. Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. That's how they treat us. They treat us as if, you know, we're Neo, right? We're or Smith. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like we're something that's wrong that has to be corrected. Like, you know what I'm saying? And it's just like we're this thing that exists outside of the status quo. And we're a part of the status quo. And to get people to, and I think that's what's so maddening about specifically Black people, is because we know that struggle. We know that struggle of not even being a second-class citizen, of being a third-class citizzen, of feeling like less than in this caste system, right? Feeling invisible, right? And feeling less than, not 3/5 of a person. We know this so well, but we do it to ourselves when somebody identifies as queer or has an expression where they might be queer, and we do it to them. We pass on that caste system and we visit it on their shoulders, on our shoulders.
Yep.
And it's like, are you serious right now? Are you serious? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's maddening. It's so maddening, man.
Yeah. Ooh, there was another question. I'm trying to scroll. I'm sorry, everybody.
Makes
them uncomfortable. Oh, what is something white queer people need to understand? Your struggle isn't my struggle.
I'm gonna keep my mouth shut.
Oh, I'm not. This is melanated social work. You know I'm gonna go in. Yeah, so queer, and I'm gonna speak to queer white men. Your struggle is not my struggle. Do not try to act like it is. You as a white man will have more privilege than I will ever have. regardless of your sexuality, regardless of how you identify.
That part.
You are allowed so much more freedom with your sexuality than Black men are, because we're holding on to white supremacy like our lives depended on it for some reason in the Black church and the Black community, but another conversation. But you are still very high in the totem pole of privilege. Don't stop trying to compare your queer struggle to a struggle about race. Cut that shit out. You can make similarities, but do not say it's the exact same thing. It's not the exact same thing.
Not the exact same thing.
When there are conversations about queerness, center voices of queer Black folks and queer folks of color.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, in the queer world, queer white men, you're at the top. You're at the tippity top. You have all the privilege. And so don't say our experiences as you speak for everyone, because you speak for you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's that.
Also, don't fetishize us, please. Please. I was really trying not to.
No, that needed to be said.
Just please, like, it makes my, I don't like predator. It just feels like a predator. Like, you know what I'm saying? And it makes my skin crawl, because I feel that energy. I've experienced it many times of walking into a space and somebody gravitates to you just because you're a Black person of color. No, please don't do that. You know what I'm saying? Expecting an experience. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's just, please stop.
Listen, you're not going to talk about it, but I'm going to talk about it. So we had some apps on here back when Craigslist also was big. And the BBC, Big Black Cock, which also that word is.
Yeah.
There are white men who are more than comfortable paying for the Black experience, are more than comfortable wanting to be treated like a slave, are more than comfortable wanting to be like slapped around because they want this Black experience. So cut that shit out, white people. Damn.
Cut it out. And stop trapping. There are a number of, especially in Philadelphia, there are a number of young queer men, right? Aged 13 to, mid-20s, who are very vulnerable. And they are lured in with drugs, alcohol, access to a nice place, money. Like, there are these trappings that are used to get them, and they're turned out. I'm not gonna tell nobody's story, but it's just, I know these stories of young Black men who are seduced with drugs, with alcohol, with money, with access to a nice, apartment downtown. Like, oh, they got this white boy who got this place downtown, or he has a nice car or whatever. He might let me hold the keys and come over. And they do that. They'll let them do that, just so that white person can say, I got me a little Black something on the weekend. But then during the week, I'm going to return to my family.
Yeah.
But on the weekend, I got me a little plaything.
Yeah.
No, we're not that. Don't take advantage of our young Black. Don't do it. Please don't.
Yeah. However, if you are young and Black and queer and you want to do this, and this is what you want to do, and you are paying your bills this way, by all means.
Right. That's why, I'll put in my conversation.
All of that shit.
Yeah, please do what you got to do. But, I don't, for them, I don't like them the way they fetishize us.
Yeah.
That's why I spoke to that part of it, because sex work, I honor. Do what you got to do, please. Right. But I don't like, because they don't care. They really don't care about us.
Yeah.
They don't. You know what I'm saying? Like, they will get us drugged up to the max, to the point of death, as long as they can get what they can get.
Yep.
And it's on to the next one.
Yeah.
And
like in that power and that predatory nature.
It's been in the news, like we're left in the balance. A Black person who, OD'd in this white guy's apartment or condo or whatever. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's just like, come on, man. Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
Oh, so there's some other questions. Was there? No, that was that question. Church that you care about. Oh, I thought there was a question. My bad.
Mm-mm.
Oh no, yeah, there is. Or this is the. I thought there was one before this one. Sorry. Will you start a group for queer Black social workers? Ooh, that's a great idea. That is a good idea. Let's see what 2021 has to offer. It might happen. Stay tuned. Yeah, we've been on for like an hour and a half. Thank you, folks that are still rocking with us. If folks have, maybe we'll take a couple more questions and then let folks enjoy their nights. Yeah, this has been a really good conversation. There's so many other different avenues that we could even that we can still go into.
Like what?
So, yeah, we're doing that. Okay. I brought up the internalized homophobia. There's the toxic masculinity. We didn't go into DL culture too much. There's dating as queer folks, as queer men. Men are trash all around, by the way, if you didn't know. Self-included sometimes. And so, there are lots of different avenues that we could go down. Maybe we can make this a monthly series. I don't know. We have a good number of people watching and tuning in right now. I don't know. Maybe that's something that we can think about. I feel like I was going to ask you a question, but I forgot. Never mind.
Okay. So we can talk about DL culture because you did start it, and then we end up asking questions. So I guess I don't know if you remember where you were going with it before.
I was just gonna not go down, but really go into like why there's a need for it, right? Because it's that compartmentalization. The fact that it is so prevalent, like today, there's an app where you can literally go anywhere in the country and see who's around you and see their whole profile, maybe a face, maybe not. And I was going to talk about the shame piece of it too. Right? There's a shame piece that, and I don't know if you've had this experience, and I'm going to speak very openly about it, but with when I have been having encounters with DL men, it's very much like dark. It's very disconnected. There's little to no communication. There's not a lot of communication around like what's going to be done, what's going to happen. It just kind of like happens.
Who are you?
Sometimes there are no names. Full disclosure, I was messing around with somebody who, to this day, I don't know his name. 2 years, but that's what it was. But it's so there's so much shame that comes from that experience. Like, why is it so dark? Why are we not talking? Why are we not discussing things? Why are there very clear roles, right? Top, bottom, verse in the middle somewhere, right? But if you're a top, you're supposed to be like this masculine, more manly person. If you identify as like bottom, then you are more femme or, whatever other, associations go with that.
Yep.
And so it's still in a way gendered.
It is.
As someone who is like inserting and someone who is receiving, it's still very, very gendered. So there's this weird thing that happens around shame, but still getting this need met. And then typically there's not much communication after. It's just, all right, you good? Cool. Off you go.
I'll holler.
Right? Maybe. And so, there's just so much shame, and then folks go back to their girl or their wife or whatever the fuck. And it's this whole other just microcosm of just, this is my little world, which is different than like actual what's happening here. I recognize that this is a thing, but I get to control everything about this other part of me. And I have to control every part of this because if anyone finds out, then I'm ashamed. Like, there's shame, there's guilt, there's fear. So that's all.
I mean, that was a mouthful right there, and for me it was difficult even learning to identify myself, right, on the spectrum of queerness, because of this shame, right, this idea of if you're this, you must be like this, right? To kind of touch on that before, and sexual roles. If you're going to do this, then you are probably like this, and it will be treated. And not understanding or seeing examples, seeing examples of healthy relationships, queer relationships, where there's mutual nurturance, there's mutual, all these different things that we ascribe to genders and sex, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's mutual. Both people are giving it to each other, right? You know what I'm saying? These things that we need in a relationship, in a healthy relationship. And that really screwed my head for a long time of, I don't want to identify as this, because if I say I'm gay, then do I got to act a certain way? Do I have to look a certain way? Do I have to talk a certain way? Do I have to like certain things? Like, you know what I'm saying? If I, say I'm a top, or if I say I'm bottom, do I have to act a certain kind of way? And that's not me. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I just want to be me, and I like what I like. But it's hard to reconcile myself, because that's the lens, right? That's the lens I had, and you can speak if that's true for you too. But that's the lens I had, and I'm still fighting through. It's not an end point. I didn't get there yet, but I'm still fighting through a lot of that stuff and just saying, like, no, call the thing a thing, be the thing, and be you in that thing. Like, you know what I'm saying? So.
Yeah, I mean, I was, after I broke up with my ex, I very much made it a point to like try to hold on to that masculinity piece and say, oh yeah, I like, in the apps or whatever, or like, oh yeah, I still, like, I mess around, but I still mess with women. So that end is just like, oh, okay, so he's like a real masculine, man. He's like a manly man, right? I was trying to hold on to that piece for so long because I knew that I would be seen as more desirable because I'm closer to this heterosexuality, a little bit closer to heterosexuality. Ooh, she's layered. She's layered. Why do you think drug use is rampant in the Black gay community? Do you think it's a form of escapism from depression?
You can't answer your own question. You can't answer your own question. But that's a great question.
Yes. I think that, what we, I spoke about before around how we internalize a lot of negativity, how we, the different symbols, not symbols, but the different, what anything outside of heterosexuality means in society is often bad. And so if we then feel bad, then we need to cope somehow. We're not happy that God hates us. We're not happy that rap songs, talk about us in a derogatory manner. So, we have to feel good somehow. Right? And so if that is drinking, if that is sex is interesting too, because there's this feeling of a physical connection that I'm going to say is not the same as with a woman. For me. And I'll say for somebody who identifies as gay, obviously is like very different than like even hugging, even like, you know, hugging a woman, right? And so, you know, it's, yes, our bodies have to make, like, naturally are gonna find ways to make ourselves feel good. That's just, I think that's biology. It's not even a mental health thing. That's biology.
Right.
Is that I am not going to continue feeling this terrible way. So once I get like a little piece of something that makes me feel good, I'm diving in that. So that could be alcohol, that could be sex, that could be binging and purging food, that could be, you know, drugs, weed, ecstasy, lean, whatever it is. It could be cutting. You see a lot of teens, queer teens that cut. You know, all the things that are maybe not the best, but it serves a need.
It serves a need.
It keeps our bodies safe. And I think you know what, it actually, unfortunately, it helps us to survive. So, yeah.
Yeah. I think working with working with kids has been so transformative, and I learned just a lot about human nature just from working with kids. It's so simple, but it's just like, and I used to, because I wasn't the kid who, I didn't smoke when I was real young. I didn't drink until I was 21. But to see so many of our youth who have access to these things and take advantage of them, and then reflecting on kids my age, like when I was young, when I was their age, you know, the kids, you know, remember seeing them smoking cigarettes or, you know, smoking weed, or not really thinking much of it, but just like, and then reflecting, like, because we don't exist in vacuums. There's a lot of other shit going on, you know, like that people are dealing with. There's a lot of stuff that is going on, and it's definitely escapism for a lot of people. Just doing this stuff, it's like, I just need a break from the stress of like being parentified, or the stress of like whatever else is going on. I just need a break, and you need a break, and I get it. I'm not even mad. Like, I get it. I'm not going to condone it because I'm not supposed to, but you know what I'm saying? But I get it. Like, you know, I totally get it.
Yeah. I guess, you know, we can end with, what do we do? How do we shift this culture of homophobia, of biphobia, of transphobia? And folks in that are you know, watching, you know, you can offer suggestions as well. But you know, we have to do something. We can't continue to allow Black men, how, you know, queer outside of heterosexuality, we can't continue to allow harm being done on such a massive level. It hurts me to know that there are so many young people, especially, who are being conditioned to hate themselves. Like it legitimately hurts my soul. And we have to find a way to shift the conversation, to start having the conversations, in order to shift the culture. Yeah, any thoughts on what do we do?
Visibility. Sitting around and waiting for the perfect scenario and environment to happen so that we can just be, you know, it's not going to fall a blanket of snow. Like, you know what I'm saying? I think, I think some people think that. They think like all the conditions have to be right. You know, one day, you know, it's just going to snap into place, and then everybody can just be comfortable and be themselves. And that's so white. But you know, but I think visibility is a big part, and some people are more vocal than others, but being present, like on my social media, I'm not posting all the details of my life, but like things that pertain to queer folks, I'm posting. My experiences, I'm posting. So if I go on a date, I'm posting it. It's going to be with a guy, I'm posting it. Like, you know what I'm saying? There's a lot of different things, and I think that visibility allows people to really be like, here's somebody who I know, right? Having that relationship with me. Here's somebody who I know. Now, this idea that I've kind of pushed away to the side, I'm a little more comfortable with now because it's tangible. Somebody I know is living in front of me, living this thing out, right?
Yeah.
And similar to like how we have to be as Black people, we just kind of have to live our life, right?
Yeah.
Do what you got to do, be a decent human being, and do what you got to do. But
yeah, we need our allies.
Mm-hmm.
We need our allies. We need the folks that aren't just gonna post, that aren't just gonna say that they're allies. We need y'all to get up and do something.
Mm-hmm.
We need y'all to speak up. We need y'all to speak out. We need y'all to include Black queer voices into the conversation. If you're a mental health professional, if you're a student in classes, I need you to say, well, what about how can this situation, how can this diagnosis affect somebody who's queer, somebody who's Black, somebody who's queer and Black? We need mental health professionals to challenge your clients who say problematic shit in session. We need you to challenge your friends, your family members who say problematic shit. I'm not saying lose your job. I'm not saying to end relationships unless you want to. I mean, that's, your prerogative. But we need y'all to stand up. And that's just it. Needs to be talked about more. We need to see more normal, everyday people that we know that may be DL professionals, people talking about this. I think that's why there's so many people in this live right now, honestly, because we don't see it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. You have been on here for almost 2 hours. We have been on here for almost 2 hours. So. Thank you, Holden, so much for coming on here, joining me, for being vulnerable. I greatly appreciate just you as a human and just this conversation and your just ability to speak so openly and honestly about your experience and about this topic. So appreciate you joining me for this live.
Thank you, Marvin. Thank you so much for, number one, this platform, for Melanated Social Work. Thank you for living your life in front of people. Thank you for this platform, because you really are doing a lot of good work in changing people's minds and hearts around just what it is to be a human being, to being a decent human being, and to loving your fellow human beings. So thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Folks that are watching, if you want to follow me, you can follow me at mtoliver_LCSW. As always, follow us at Melanated Social Work. If you want to do something, I put somebody put in the comments, go ahead and drop some money into Melanated Social Work's Venmo or Cash App. That is in the link tree of our bio. So that is something that you can do to continue, so we can continue this work, continue having these dope conversations. Also, the Melanated Social Work podcast, new episode will be out on Monday, I believe. Very excited to have this woman who, the hint that I'm giving folks is that she was part of a Grammy nominated girl group. So that's all I'm going to give you. So check us out. We're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iTunes, Google Play, wherever the hell else you listen to podcasts. Holden, thank you one more time for being here. Everybody, thank you all for watching. I know there's been a bunch of folks on here. If you have been with us from the beginning, man, we appreciate you listening to our asses talk.
Gavin, this is Gavin.
This is yapping. We appreciate you. We appreciate all of your support for Melanated Social Work, and look for it. Maybe we'll have another one soon. So thank you all. Everybody have a great night.